Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is in Washington meeting US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He's also expected to meet President Biden's National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Blinken told the UN Security Council on Tuesday he would work with the Chinese Foreign Minister to prevent the Middle East conflict from spreading. But talks with China are also expected to focus on trying to solve a range of other disagreements, including on trade. Well, only this week, tech giant Nvidia said the US government has told it to stop shipping some of its advanced artificial intelligence chips to China immediately. Those restrictions weren't supposed to come into force for a few weeks. Well, that's the very latest move in this ongoing technology dispute between Washington and Beijing. Anna Ashton, US-China Director at Eurasia Group, spoke to us earlier, and I asked her for the latest on this trade war, especially about the technology element.
It is positive in the sense that this is the first reciprocal visit from a Chinese leader in months after, many visits by senior U.S. officials to China to try to encourage the infusion of greater stability into the relationship. Clearly, both governments are signaling that that's what they want. But, the trade agenda, I think, first of all, it's important to recognize that trade isn't part of the architecture that the two sides have established for working groups. So even though there was an economic working group meeting early this week, the first one, there's no role for USTR, and that makes it difficult to imagine exactly what positive trade agenda could be on the table. And then second of all, obviously, there is this continuing deepening tech competition, regardless of the fact that both sides want greater stability. This is still a competition or even an adversarial relationship, depending on who you talk to. And the U.S. has rolled out additional export controls on shipments of technology to China, especially things like semiconductors and AI. China has responded with export controls on raw materials, critical minerals like graphite. So that's likely to continue to escalate, and I'd be surprised if they make progress on it.
Well, that's what I was about to ask. I mean, China will no doubt push for some kind of concessions. I mean, how likely will there be any wriggle room at all potentially on that, do you think?
I don't think that there will be any. I mean, I think the reality is that the U.S. side has been pretty clear with the Chinese side in previous meetings over the course of the last several months about the fact that, adjustments to the restrictions rolled out last year were coming. They could have been worse than they were. So in some respects, China was probably a little bit relieved at what was announced. But at the same time, I do expect that this will continue to be a top line, high profile thing that the Chinese government pushes with the U.S., both in these meetings and probably at APEC next month.